Welcome to the Power of Nature podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Waldo. In this show, I talk about how nature and the natural world can communicate with us, how it can communicate directly and individually with each of us, and how this can create immeasurable benefits for us in our lives. I share stories of my experiences doing this as part of a regular and ongoing practice, and I talk to others about their experiences with the power of nature as well. So join me as we go on a journey of learning about the power of nature, how it can communicate directly with us, and the impact that it can have on our own lives. Welcome back to the Power of Nature podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking about how weather and seasons can help us listen to ourselves, and in how listening to ourselves, when we do this because of seasons and weather, I find that it can help us become more aware of things, maybe that we've been trying to communicate with ourselves in order to make some different choices and experience more of what we deeply want in our lives. So that's kind of a big topic, but let's dive into this one. So I'm pausing for a moment, sitting in my office, which is also my art studio, and I'm looking out the window. And today is a gray day in Montana. And when I woke up, so I have windows that look out at these amazing trees all around. And when I woke up laying in bed this morning, it's like there was this, this kind of weird color. It felt really kind of odd. And then as I got up and I looked out the window, and then I ended up having my tea and all of that, I've been kind of really observing the weather today. And, we've been having some beautiful fall weather here in Montana. The trees are changing, and there's these beautiful colors and light, and the skies have been amazing. But today, it's really actually now gray. It was really dark earlier. It started raining. Now it stopped raining, but it's gray out. And I've had a lot of time to kind of, I notice a lot about things because of the proximity of our house to the mountain that is in front of us. So it's like I'm always just really seeing the weather here in ways that I don't think that I had the opportunity to do at other places we lived. It's almost like I really kind of see the weather almost from like a different vantage point here. And it's really kind of helped me think a lot about the weather and seasons, and these are important aspects of nature and how they have had and can have, an effect on us. And I think one of the biggest effects that I realize is that the weather and the seasons, can really have an effect on whether we listen to ourselves more and tune into ourselves more or not. Because I find that when we do tune into ourselves and listen to ourselves more from the weather or from the seasons, there's a lot of clarity and understanding that we can experience and gain that can help us become more empowered to make choices maybe that are different than the ones we had made, and be able to move in a direction of more of what we truly want. So today with the weather, I was just really noticing how gray it was. And it's really easy to kind of feel like I just kind of felt like, just kind of meh, just kind of not horrible, but not good, And it's really easy to kind of be like, well, I should distract myself, or I'll find something that feels good, or, to kind of want to avoid the meh, if you will. Just kind of be like, well, it's going to be sunny tomorrow, so I'll just get myself focused on what I'm doing and get through today, and then we'll have a nice day tomorrow, because the weather's supposed to be nice tomorrow. And I'm going on a long kind of road trip to watch a sports game for my son. So, it's something to kind of look forward to. But the thing is that I realized that it is in these meh moments, in maybe these moments in these days where we don't like the weather that much, or we don't like the season that much, that often can be so informative and telling. Like if I go and just say, this is just kind of a gray day, and I'm not feeling, so good, but I'm just going to, cheer myself up and wait for tomorrow. The question I want to ask myself is, why am I feeling meh today? Because I know there are other times in my life when I've been kind of on a roll. I've been really in sync with things. And gray days don't bother me at all, because I'm so kind of impassioned or inspired by what I'm doing. And it's like the weather is not something that I even notice as being a problem. But on days when it feels like it's kind of gray and it feels kind of meh, and then I kind of feel like, well, I should just distract myself until, another sunny day. I've come to learn that I'm really missing an opportunity to listen to myself about why is it I'm feeling meh in that moment? What is it trying to tell me? Because, I know for me, and I think for a lot of us, we kind of want to be feeling good. And sometimes we don't want to look at the stuff that doesn't feel so good. And we kind of just want to distract ourselves, or we kind of want to avoid it. But that doesn't always serve us, because that can mean we kind of stay in situations that, and circumstances, or, continue to have maybe unresolved feelings about things, continue to, kind of cycle in us. And I find that when we're discontent about something or we have feelings about something that we haven't felt, our inner selves kind of give us a little bit of a pass for a while, and then it kind of gets louder and it gets stronger and it may become more uncomfortable. And I've learned that the more that I learn to be conscious of myself and aware of myself and what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing, that and I'm listening to myself more, that I can navigate my life's journey more easily. It's like I have less, kind of less lows, and I feel more, I don't know, I just kind of feel more at peace in general and more connected and in flow. So what this has to do with the weather is, if I'm feeling meh because the weather is gray, it's not really that I'm feeling meh because the weather is gray. I used to think that, but now I've come to realize that it's because when the weather is gray, oftentimes I'm not kind of distracting myself with other things, and kind of avoiding the things that maybe I don't want to look at. And so when the weather is kind of gray, it gives me an opportunity to be like, well, why am I feeling kind of meh? What is it that's going on? I mean, maybe I've just had some memories come up of, a loved one. Both my parents are gone. Maybe it's something that's come up and I've kind of been avoiding a feeling and it's just kind of sticking with me. And I just kind of need to just give myself the space and the self-care to sit and feel it. And then boom, I come to a greater sense of peace. Or maybe there are certain choices in my life that I haven't been making. And when I, let myself notice because of the weather that I'm feeling meh, I become aware of those choices. One of the reasons that this has really kind of come to my awareness, and helped me understand is, we have seasons here in Montana, which is what I grew up with. Also in Pennsylvania, we had seasons. But I also lived for a long time in California, and we did have seasons for sure. But they were different. They were different than the seasons that I was used to. And there wasn't such a variance. And I really missed it. I really missed the seasons in Pennsylvania when I was in California. And I'm really glad to be in Montana with the seasons. Now, sometimes I don't love certain aspects of the seasons. Like this summer, I usually don't love when it gets really, really, really hot and dry for a long time in Montana. We don't have humidity like Pennsylvania, but we can have really hot and dry days. And actually this summer, we didn't have that much of that. It was this really nice, kind of respite. But I really appreciate the weather variations and the seasons here. So in California, what I experienced was not having that as much. And then also noticing that people were kind of like always on the go. It was always like, let's go here, let's do this, let's go to this event, let's go to this activity. And part of it is kind of like, at least in the San Francisco Bay Area, other parts of California have snow in winter and stuff like that. And I used to go to Tahoe, Lake Tahoe in the Sierra Nevada mountains to experience winter. I think because I kind of needed my fix of that. But when you live in a place that doesn't have any kind of winter, which the Bay Area does have winter, but in their winter, it's more rain. There can be a lot of rain. So, you can have that for sure. But I found in general that a lot of people are doing a lot of things all the time. And I would kind of get caught up in that, like, oh, especially when I was younger, I'd be like, well, I have to go here and I have to go there and I have to do this and I have to do that. And as I've gotten older, but actually, I realize it's not really about age. It's becoming more aware. As I've become more aware and I've listened to myself more, I've come to realize that I didn't like always having to go somewhere. I actually really found that having these times to reflect and listen were really, really key. So like on gray days, it gives me an opportunity to be like, if I'm really excited about what's going on in my life and everything's great, I never notice the gray days. But on the gray days, when there are certain things that maybe I've not been facing or I've not just been feeling or just that come up this morning and it's gray, and I kind of feel it, I find that it's usually something for me to look at or for me to feel that can benefit me. And the gray day almost helps me kind of not distract myself, and kind of not like brush it off and kind of not just, try to avoid my feelings or avoid what I'm calling myself to know or experience or share with myself about what is going on. And so a lot of times what I find are, things like, I just kind of become aware of other choices, other choices I want to make. In the Bay Area also, and this is why I went to Lake Tahoe a lot in the Sierra Nevada mountains for the winter. I mean, I love to snowboard, but I also just really wanted that like true winter downtime. In the Bay Area, we had, rain in the winter. So that was, helpful, at least for me, because I kind of felt like it was a little bit less, I don't know, like a little bit less active. Like I have found that seasons are really important, that the more I observe the seasons and the more I embrace the seasons, it's like I find that I'm embracing more of what is nature oriented, but really natural about me. So like, I've often felt like in the wintertime, I love the white. I love the snow. I don't always love going out in the cold, but I love that it is cold enough and that snow comes down and that it almost is like, it almost forces me to not go out and do stuff or not feel pressure to go out and do stuff. I love the feeling of when we are, kind of like snowed in. I love that it causes me to want to snuggle up more and get cozy more and turn on a fireplace more and, eat like nice, warm, hearty stews and watch cozy movies and just kind of practice self-care and practice listening. I also find that my creativity is really strong in the winter because I am just kind of more tuned into my own, I think, my own emotions, my own experiences. And because I don't feel like this pressure, societal pressure to go here and do that, which as I've gotten more aware of listening to myself, I don't succumb to that in ways that I did when I was younger. But I still find that there's a natural flow in the winter where I just kind of like nestling in, getting cozy, fireplaces, crackling noises, warm soups, soft slippers, nurturing myself, engaging in my creativity. It's like, it is like a gestation period, which is what really winter is for nature, right? I mean, I learned a lot from, there was a tree on our property in California. It was, what was it? A cherry tree? I think it was a cherry tree. And a plum tree. It was a plum tree. That's what it was. I can't believe I forgot that. But it was this amazing, really old plum tree. And I just kind of developed an amazing relationship with it. I'm sure I'll actually talk about it in an episode on trees. But one of the things was I started to really become aware of the seasons. I mean, I'd always been aware of the seasons, but I started to really become aware of what winter is and the importance, right? Like in winter, things have the fall, harvest is done, and there is a kind of like a gestation period. It's almost like it's almost like when I was pregnant with my kids. It was like there were little tiny seeds planted, but then 9 months of pregnancy in a way, except in this case it's winter and it's there's snow and there's cold and you're not doing as much. That said, I love doing winter sports, and I love looking at the mountains, and I love seeing the snow and all of that. I'm hoping to do some more snowboarding this year, I haven't done it in a couple of years, and that's what I thought I would be really big on doing here, moving to Montana. But I love the winter because it's like this gestational period. It's like this period of like going inward, and I find that my creativity just kind of like it's growing, and new directions are coming out, and it's just kind of getting ready to birth. And it is birthing in a number of ways because I express myself, but then I also kind of feel like then in the spring, it's like all this new energy. Like I love the when the spring comes and there's these like new buds and new leaves and new colors, and the birds and things turn green and all of that. I love that because it's like this kind of newness. And I feel like that also goes along with newness that I make in my life. I'm not quite sure about summer. I'll have to get back to you on that because I still am trying to understand about summer and its relationship with me. I know people love summer, but I've always loved spring and fall and winter more. And maybe as I'm becoming more aware, I'll start to understand more about the role that summer plays in my life, but after summer comes fall, and fall is this time of like, to me, it's like apple cider and you know, cornfields and harvest and pumpkins and, you know, just like, I don't know, it's like the preparation for the winter. And all of this, you know, to me, it's similar. It's like by tuning into the weather and by tuning into the seasons, I find that I tune more into myself, and I tune more into what is natural about myself. What is my innate nature? What are my innate rhythms? What are my innate patterns? And that's something I really struggled with in California, because I always kind of felt like I was like off sync. Like the world outside of me was one thing, and then what my inner body was trying to call me to do, it's like there was a contradiction. And I really struggled with that. And everybody's different, so, you know, you may have a different take on this. But I find that tuning into ourselves, you know, nature is in sync with what is natural. If you hear a cat in the background, that's our older cat. I cannot stop her from howling anymore. She's just been howling incessantly. She's 17, and this is what she does. You know, we feed her like a million times a day and all of that. But if that's what you heard, that's one of our cats. But I find that these seasons and the weather can really help us get in sync with ourselves and listen to ourselves and tune into ourselves. And to what end? The end is that ourselves, and this is what, you know, I've experienced time and time again, our deeper self is what really knows what we truly want at our core. Our inner self has been with us every step of the way, every experience, every thought, every dream, every desire, every painful moment, every moment of suffering, every, you know, oh, I wish it could be this, and oh, I love that. Our inner selves know all of that. And I find that the more that we understand that that is unique to us, nobody else has that same combination of things. No one, not our children, not our spouses, no one, not our parents, our best friends. We're all a little different, and we all can actually be a lot different, even though we have commonalities as well. But our inner self is what knows all of those things about us. And our inner self also, you know, it's natural, it's nature oriented, and nature itself is in sync with the natural, with what is natural. And our inner self is natural. It is what is natural about us. And so nature, including weather and including the seasons, it's like a way of tuning into that. And it's a way of syncing up. And it's a way of listening to ourselves more. And that listening to ourselves more can cause us to become aware of choices that we might want to make that are different than what we've been choosing, because we're calling ourselves to be ready for some kind of a change, not because, you know, we did anything wrong, but maybe we're just ready for something. We're ready for something different. And it can be causing us to also just maybe feel emotions or feel things that are just coming up for us. I mean, one of the biggest things I've learned about our feelings is that, you know, our feelings are energy, and energy is in motion. And the more that we can allow our feelings and express our feelings, we can find that then it's like the weather, it's just a storm comes and a storm goes away. It's like, a feeling of difficulty can come, and when we kind of tune into it, then it can change. And to be honest, I think if we were just feeling perfectly excited and happy all the time, and we never had any variance in what we were doing, it would be a pretty darn boring place. I know for me, I don't really want to go into like extreme being off sync with myself and extreme suffering. But I also know, there's something really exciting about when I'm feeling really good and then I kind of like have a transition to something new, and there's kind of a moment of clarity and whatever, and then I come back to feeling really good, in a different way. The variability is, to me, exciting, and I like that kind of variance. I think the world would be a pretty boring place if everything was the same all the time. And I think our inner selves know this. And I think, we are always drawing ourselves to kind of new things and new experiences for this same reason, because we want to experience new things. Once we've experienced something, then we kind of want to try something else out and experience that. And I find that when we can tune into the weather, or we can allow the weather and the seasons, allow us to observe them and experience and tune into them, they can help us listen to ourselves more. And in doing so, it can benefit us, because it certainly has benefited me. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's episode. And look at that. I'm already just like looking out at the gray weather. Nothing has changed, but I feel different. I feel different than what I did. I think in expressing a lot of this with myself in this episode, it's shifted something, and I feel different about some of the, like, there are things that I wanted to do today, but I kind of didn't, I don't know, I kind of felt meh about them. And now I'm kind of excited about doing them. I'm kind of excited. I think I had some lingering feelings that I needed to just let myself feel, which is kind of the point of this episode and what I've been talking about. This is how it can work. So I'm going to go check on my howling cat. I don't know what she is doing back there. Oh my gosh, maybe she just needs me to pick her up and hold her and let her know that she's okay. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to sign off for today's episode. Until the next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Power of Nature podcast. To learn more about me and my other offerings, you can visit my website at michellewaldo.com. That's MICHELLEWALDO.com.